Guys, intheinaka here, coming to you from another damp and dreary day in Japan at the tail end of the rainy season. I just want to talk to you about a little anecdotal incident that happened to me last night. As a lot of you are aware, it was the JLPT yesterday, and afterwards I ended up in the evening I ended up skyping a couple of Japanese friends elsewhere in the country and a couple of friends from back home in England. And it kind of developed into a sort of impromptu drinking party on Skype just to celebrate JLPT being over and having a bit of free time. And so now I'm a little bit hungover this morning. After there's definitely some gin floating around behind my eyes somewhere, and I'm not completely with it. But I thought I'd shoot a video anyway while I was thinking about it. And what actually happened was the little story I wanted to tell you is from when I popped down to my local Lawson's to pick up some Asahi for a little drinking session. And while I'm on that subject, I got some Asahi Black. Actually, the can's over waiting to go in the rubbish now, but very nice for those of you who haven't tried it. Asahi Black, I definitely recommend trying it. It's a darker Asahi. I do like normal Asahi to begin with. Japanese beer, for those of you who don't know, I like it, but it's not. If you like variety in your beer, then Japan's not really the greatest country. Tends to be quite similar. Asahi, Kirin, it's all pretty standard lagers, and none of it's bad, but none of it's particularly exciting or thrilling. Anyway, as exciting or thrilling as beer can be. But recently, I think it's recently at least, I only recently started seeing in the convenience stores around here, Asahi brought out Asahi Black, which is just a bit of a darker version of their standard beer, and it's pretty nice actually, and quite reasonable. So I had a can of that yesterday, and I would wholeheartedly recommend it to those of you who like your beer. But as I went up to purchase my Asahi Black and pay for it, something happened to me that never ever happened to me before in Japan, and I actually got ID'd for my alcohol, or should have been ID'd rather. When you pay for bills and stuff, you have to press little buttons on the electronic screen at convenies to proceed, and I have been asked to press the little screen on the button on the screen before for alcohol when it said like, oh, this has to be sold to people over 20, the drinking age is 20 in Japan. But it's always been a formality, please hit the button so I can continue, sort of thing. And but yesterday it was a new screen, a new button, and there was a choice of over 30 or over 20, and the over 30 was nice and green, and the over 20 was bright red and kind of a bit ominous looking. So I hesitated at first when it came up, and sort of looked at the shop assistant, and I was like, this one, right? This 20, this one that says 20, because it wasn't really that helpful. It just had a big number 20 on it, so not like over 20 or anything. And he was like, yes, as long as you're over 20. So I hit it, expecting to just, hand over my money, get handed the beer, and be on my way. But for the first time ever, he actually, he said, well, have you got your ID card on you? And I was flabbergasted. I was taken aback. Like, it's literally never happened to me. Luckily, for once, I think my astonishment was, my speechlessness was sort of taken by the Japanese clerk as my being unable to comprehend Japanese. So he just sort of like went, don't worry, and just handed me he just went like, nansai desu ka, like, how old are you? And I was like, 22 nisai, and he was like, oh yeah, it's fine. I just gave him my beer, and I went on my way without showing him any ID, because I don't take ID to the store. I wouldn't even think about it over here. But I thought that was very much sort of anecdotal of Japanese attitudes towards drinking here anyway. When I first arrived in Japan, I think it was in October, one of my first lessons here with myself and the other British student, we had a lesson with some Japanese first years, and we were chatting to a couple of them afterwards, and then we ended up deciding, we should go out and do something tonight, opportunity to meet some new friends. And they were like, we'll go to an izakaya, and we were like, yeah, okay, that's cool. And then we were waiting for them on campus later that evening, and just thinking between us, me and the other British student, like, but this is a group of first year students, and of course that means they would be 18, maybe 19 at the most, a few of them, but certainly none of them should be um, the at the legal drinking age in Japan. So when we arrived at the izakaya and met them, and we were like, "Oh, is this okay? Are you sure?" And they were like, "Yeah, yeah, no problem." And we went in, sat down, ordered nomi hodai, all you can drink, and had a good evening, and no one was asked for ID at any point. And I realised as the year went on that this is completely normal in Japan. They do not ask for ID if you're, unless you are clearly underage. You're not going to get, or at least I thought until yesterday, you're never going to get ID'd. But it's certainly very, very rare to be ID'd if you're 18 or 19, or certainly over the limit. And yeah, so and it's a much more relaxed attitude to younger kids, and I think I honestly I think it's a good thing. I think that 18 and 19-year-olds are better off being inside an izakaya, drinking inside an establishment rather than being forced to drink in parks or whatever, like you would back in the UK, where it's much harder to get hold of alcohol underage. I also think that 20 is too high a limit. I honestly don't see why you would set the alcohol limit, the age at 20 or 21 in America. It's just it just seems too high. It's not helping anyone, and it just encourages kids to drink in secret and cause more problems. But yeah, so I was surprised to get ID'd yesterday, but I think it's still rather the exception that doesn't prove the rule. I don't like that saying, but it is the exception to the rule, and very much it did surprise me. But if you come over to Japan, I'm not encouraging underage drinking anyway. But if you are one of those few people that do end up coming to Japan under the age of 20, and you did want to drink now and then, it wouldn't be that difficult. But yeah, so that's just my little story from yesterday that kind of surprised me, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care.